Tired of your plants drying out when you forget to water them? What if I told you there's a simple DIY solution? Look at this. This is a self-watering pot with a built-in drip system, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to make one. It's easy, it's cheap, and it will keep your plants perfectly happy and hydrated. First, let's gather our materials. You'll need 2 plastic bottles of the same size, a craft knife or a sturdy pair of scissors, a small nail or a pin, a ruler, a permanent marker, some cotton string or a strip from a cotton t-shirt, and of course, your potting soil and your favorite plant. A 2-liter soda bottle works perfectly for this project, but any similar size will do. Alright, let's get into the preparation. First, make sure your bottles are clean and dry. Remove any labels. Now, take your first bottle. This will become the water reservoir at the bottom. Using your ruler and marker, measure about 4 inches up from the base and draw a straight line all the way around the bottle. This will be your cutting guide. Now, take your second bottle. This one will be the planter section that sits on top. We need to create the drip system part. For this, we'll focus on the bottle cap. Carefully, using your nail or pin, poke a small hole right in the center of the cap. Be careful not to make the hole too big. We want a slow, steady drip, not a flood. A good tip is to heat the nail slightly with a lighter to make piercing the plastic easier. But please be extremely careful if you do this. With our parts prepped, it's time for the step-by-step assembly. Let's start with our first bottle, the one with the line drawn on it. Carefully use your craft knife or scissors to cut along the line you marked. You'll now have 2 pieces, a bottom base and a top funnel-like piece. For this project, we only need the bottom base, which will act as our water reservoir. You can set the top piece aside or recycle it. Now grab your second bottle, the one with the cap still on. We're going to cut this one too, but a bit differently. Measure about 5 to 6 inches up from the bottom and mark a line around it. Cut along this line. This time, we're keeping the top portion of the bottle. So, you should have the top part of the bottle with the neck and the cap attached. This will be our planter. Discard the bottom part of this second bottle. Let's test the fit. Take your planter piece, the top of the second bottle, and flip it upside down. It should fit snugly inside the reservoir base we made from the first bottle. The neck of the bottle should point down into the reservoir. If it's a little wobbly, that's okay for now. Once we add soil and water, it will be more stable. Next up is the wick, which is the secret to this whole system. Take your cotton string or fabric strip. It should be about 8 to 10 inches long. We need to thread this through the hole in the bottle cap. An easy way to do this is to use a small wire or a paper clip to push it through. You want about half the string inside the planter and the other half dangling down into the reservoir. This cotton wick will draw water up from the reservoir into the soil through capillary action, keeping it consistently moist. Once the wick is in place, screw the cap back onto your planter piece. Your basic structure is now complete. You have the reservoir base and the inverted planter with its wick hanging down. Pretty cool, right? Now for the fun part, planting. Fill your planter section with your potting soil. As you fill it, make sure the wick stays relatively centered and extends up into the soil. Don't pack the soil too tightly. We want it to be loose enough for water and air to move freely. Leave a little space at the top. Gently place your plant into the soil. Add a bit more soil around it to secure it in place, and pat it down lightly. Your plant is now sitting in its new high-tech home. Before we put it all together, let's give our plant its first drink. Water the soil from the top, just as you normally would. This helps the soil settle and gives the wick a good start. Let any excess water drain through. Finally, it's time for the grand assembly. Fill the reservoir base with water, about halfway full. Then, carefully place your planter section on top, letting the wick hang down into the water. And that's it! Your self-watering planter is ready to go. The system will now do the work for you. The water will drip slowly from the cap, and the wick will draw moisture up as the soil needs it. Now for some useful tips to get the best results. First, always use a cotton string or fabric for the wick. Synthetic materials don't absorb water as well. Second, the size of the hole in the cap is crucial. Start small. You can always make it bigger if you find the soil is too dry, but you can't make it smaller. Third, keep an eye on the water level in the reservoir. Since the bottle is clear, it's easy to see when it needs a refill. This is way better than guessing. Let's talk about some common mistakes to avoid. A big one is cutting the bottles to the wrong size. If the planter is too deep, it might not sit securely in the reservoir. If it's too shallow, it won't hold enough soil for the plant's roots. So, measure twice, cut once. Another common issue is making the drip hole in the cap too large. This will drain your reservoir too quickly and could overwater your plant, leading to root rot. We're aiming for a slow and steady supply. Also, don't forget the wick. Without the wick, the soil at the top might not get enough moisture, defeating the purpose of our self-watering system. So, let's quickly recap the whole process. We cut one bottle to create a water reservoir. We cut a second bottle to make a planter. We poked a tiny hole in the cap of the planter bottle and threaded a cotton wick through it. We filled the planter with soil and our plant. Then, we filled the reservoir with water and placed the planter on top. The drip hole and the wick work together to keep the soil perfectly moist. It's a simple, effective, and sustainable way to care for your plants. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and feel inspired to make your own self-watering pot. It's a fantastic project for anyone, whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out. Plus, it's a great way to upcycle plastic bottles. If you make one, I would absolutely love to see it. Share a picture of your creation in the comments below, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fun DIY projects like this one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Happy planting!